something for you, Carter. Going back to the quarterback situation, it's going to come down to, especially with the wide receiver core that you have there with LSU, who's going to keep his poise, who has control of the team, who's going to make the best decisions once he lets it fly. It's going to come down to that. But if all those guys prove fairly capable at that, just looking at skill sets between the three in play, if they all max out their skill sets, who do you think? And I know it's difficult to tell because we've only seen Jaden Daniels from afar and Nussmeier we haven't seen under the bright lights, etc. Brennan, it's been a year and a half since we've seen him, all those things. But when you put it all together, if they all max out their skill sets, who do you think you want to be the guy?
Yeah, so I think the highest ceiling of the three of those guys would be Garrett Nussmeier, simply because he's got the best arm. He throws with the best confidence. He's also someone that has a pretty clean injury history. Jaden Daniel, he struggled when it was throwing. His mechanics did begin to fall apart. Some of it last year had to do with the turmoil that was going on at Arizona State, but his intermediate passing game really began to fall apart. However, Jaden Daniels is an elite runner of the ball. Now, is he like a Michael Vick, Cam Newton level? No, but if you were to rate it out of 10, he's probably a 8.5 or 9 out of 10 level runner. He can win a game just on his legs alone. And yes, he did have some interception issues last year. Once again, I think some of that had to do with the turmoil that was going on. He, before that, had a pretty good touchdown to interception ratio. So he's, for the most part, pretty good with the football in his hands. Now, Miles Brennan has been there the longest. He is the most familiar with LSU, but he is a statue in the pocket, and he does have a pretty gnarly injury history. It's a wide variety of injuries that has happened to him. So as of right now, if you were to ask me just to pick one guy who I think would be the starter today, I would probably pick Jaden Daniels, because you would not ask this guy to transfer in with that much more experience than the other two just for him to sit on the bench. So for right now, I would say Jaden Daniels, also because it is a newer offensive line and you are going up against a Florida State defensive line. And yeah, they lost Johnson, but they're still a good unit with a fairly new offensive line. You would probably start the most mobile of the three quarterbacks, and that, of course, is Jaden.
It's fun. I was going to say Jaden Daniels is 1-0 against Florida State. He knows how to beat Florida State. It might have been a little while ago, but beat them 20-14 the last time they faced.
That's right. That's been a minute.
Right. It's funny because we also were talking about them because transfers, quarterbacks. Florida State would like to have a backup for Jordan Travis, but I don't think Jaden Daniels was wanting to go anywhere to back up anybody. But that would be a fun game, because if you're going to throw out two dual threat quarterbacks, that always creates excitement because both of those players can run and put on some moves.
Yeah, and one quick thing here that's going to be very interesting, and I heard you guys talking about this. It is the season opener, right? You saw what happened with the heartbreaker comeback versus Notre Dame, and then you had the transfer come in and almost save the day, and there was so much emotion, and then it spilled over the next week versus Jacksonville State. And then you saw this with LSU over the past couple of seasons. They also lost their season opener in very similar fashion in both of those games. It was also a shootout, and they just never really recovered. So I do think, that season opener, you guys were mentioning it a minute ago, college football is a very unique sport with no preseason. Every regular season game has so much immediacy, so much impact on what you're going to do the rest of the way. That, to me, is probably the biggest storyline, knowing what happened to these teams the past couple of seasons and season openers.